Yo, yo, what's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing. We back at it with another live stream. You heard what's happening with y'all. First and foremost, man, before I forget, man, I truly apologize. I should have been done this, man. I want to shout out a new subscriber by the name of Clark. Now, this is a gentleman that I met in real life. This ain't somebody who just subscribed to me on some internet shit. This is a young man that, when was it? Friday. On Friday, I was out in White Flint, in Rockville, Maryland, trying, handling some business. You know what I mean? And I was at the McDonald's waiting for a customer. And before they came through, there was a gentleman behind me, and I heard him listening to some or watching some boxing shit. So I turned behind me and said, "Hey, what's up, man? You watching boxing?" And Clark says, "Yeah, man. You know, he's just watching some Canelo fights because he's looking forward to the fight the next day, being Saturday, because that was on Friday." And then we got to chopping it up. You know what I mean? Clark's a cool dude. We talked for a while. My customer came. I handled my business. She left. And we got to chopping it up. You know what I mean? I had a little time to kill before I went to the bank to make some deposits. And Clark was a cool dude, man. Before I said peace to him, I said, "Hey, I got a YouTube channel too. I talk boxing all day, every day." You know what I mean? He said, "That's what's up, man. What's your name? I'll subscribe." And he did immediately. And that's why I want to give a shout out to Clark. Shout out to Clark. Big ups to yourself. Like we talked, man, the fight was going to be interesting, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Canoli versus Kovalev. Salute to you, and hopefully I see you in the comment sections or live streams sooner than later. But big ups to my man Clark. But anyway, with that being said, Dazn, man, Dazn got bitched last night by the UFC. They got bitch slapped, and boxing fans like me, and also casuals for the most part, they had to pay the price. They had to take that on the chin. You know what I mean? We had to wait 2 hours in between Ryan Garcia knocking out Duno in one round, and that ain't no excuse that we gotta wait 2 hours. 2 hours after Ryan Garcia knocked out Romero Duno, and then Kovalev came into the ring. The ring start entrance walks between Kovalev and Canoli started at 1 o'clock. These fellas ain't the first bell did not ring till 1 a.m. in the morning. 1:18 a.m. in the morning. That's the latest I've ever seen a pay-per-view or any boxing event start. You know what I mean? You already know Teddy Atlas going to throw a fit. He was already bugging that Sean Porter and Errol Spence started at midnight. Which I hope he got something to say about this own shit starting at 1:18 in the a.m. on the East Coast. That's ridiculous. Now I read this article, and you know, a lot of people apparently, first and foremost, why was there a delay? There was a delay because apparently the zone had an agreement with UFC that the zone won't start their main event with Canelo and Kovalev till the main event with Nate Diaz and whomever he was fighting over there on UFC was over. Never forget, mind you, hashtag never forget. Must I remind you? Nate Diaz got 12 losses. Man be smoking weed before fight. So what the fuck you think he's gonna come in there and in shape and ready to fight? That's on y'all to go ahead and believe that. I don't even really know Nate Diaz. All I know is Slim got 12 losses and he be smoking weed. And I ain't knocking anybody who be chiefing. Do your thing, you know what I'm saying? But really and truly, I don't want my favorite athlete just chiefing all up and about in public and then fuck around and come and have epic fails and just doesn't pass the test when it comes to what his craft entails. You know what I mean? So I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? That's like, for example, if I liked Michael Jordan start chiefing smoking weed everywhere he go. You already know he'd be having his cigar. Let's say that cigar is stuffed with some skunk. You know what I mean? Some of that good Cali bud. Yeah, then Michael Jordan start going through going start having games where he just not himself, you know what I mean? Because he looking lackadaisical, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what weed's gonna do to you as an athlete, but it does that for Nate Diaz, I tell you that. But anyway, um, so boxing had to wait till that Nate Diaz event was over, you know what I mean? You could already tell watching after Ryan do there was a lot of filler that the Zone and Sky Sports did in between them 2 hours. Who the fuck sits there for 2 hours? Imagine how Canoli and Kovalev felt. That's why Kovalev, after hitting the mitts, man, them fellas took a seat on the couch and said, "Fuck, I'm about to have a seat." You know what I mean? And the man looked tired already. I'm saying after hitting the mitts with Buddy McGirt, the man took a seat on the couch and took some deep breaths like he was already in a 12-round fight, you know what I mean? But you know, guys like Mikey Garcia, Andy Ruiz, they said boxing shouldn't have to take a backseat to UFC, and that's absolutely right, man. You know what I mean? Boxing fans got bitch slapped, and especially disowned by the UFC. You know what I mean? Who the fuck does that? A business decision? That was a business decision to try and gain more new subscribers by the hours. You know what I mean? In between them 2 hours, that was a greedy move by the zone. You know what I'm saying? And believe you me, there was according to the article I read, a lot of people had fight parties and people left. They didn't stay there for no whole 2 hours to wait for a cannoli fight, man. Especially on the East Coast, man. People got things to do on the next Sunday morning. Some people got to wake up, go to church, let alone having to stay till 1:18 to watch a fight that I'm pretty sure everybody knew what the outcome would be, a Canelo victory, whether it be on points or a stoppage. You know what I'm saying? So boxing really, man, you know, even what's his name, Steven Espinoza, he expressed his dismay with the zone and talk about this shows to prove they really don't understand boxing. That might be the case. I don't know. I thought that undercard, that whole DAZN card was whack. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it a buck. You know what I mean? That whole DAZN undercard was whack. Only one world title was on the undercard, and that was between the women. That was for a WBA interim flyweight title. You know what I mean? Between the women, one of them got a forehead busted up. You know what I'm saying? That was it, man. That DAZN card was whack, man. No, you can't compare that DAZN card to what was the last PBC pay per view? Sean Porter versus Errol Spence. A lot of people enjoyed and loved that undercard. If you want to try and debate me about which undercard was better, please do so. Do not be afraid, man. It's only friendly. I ain't gonna hurt you, man. I'm on this side of the planet. You're on the other side. I can't touch you. So be big, bad, brave, and bold. Please do, because you will get checked early, never late. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if boxing got to wait 2 hours for the UFC, what do these people really? That shows that the zone really doesn't respect the boxing fans, the casuals and the hardcores. Having had people sit there for 2 hours, whether it's at home, whether it's in the arena, and hear the bullshit. Don't you know the MGM Grand? Probably courtesy of the zone, because the zone and them it's their night, right? So they running the produce the you know what I'm saying, the producing, you know what I mean, they running everything as far as the TV and stuff. They started showing the UFC fight on the monitors in the MGM during that 2 hour period where people had to wait. Are you serious? See, the zone that they out of pocket. I don't pay for no DAZN. I'll tell you that right now. I'm cool. Why the fuck would I pay for DAZN to see Canelo? Canelo's a good fighter, sure, but that undercard was whack. I mean, I'm cool. I got Sky Sports on my box anyways, you know what I mean? And that's where I watch the fight on Sky Sports Action. You know what I'm saying? So the British feed, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you at the zone even agreeing for the MGM to show the UFC fight, that's some BS. Don't you know how many times they showed the Rocky Feldon, aka Bill Wennington fight versus Cannoli that only went 3 rounds in between them 2 hours? I've probably watched the fight about 4 times now. I only watched it once the time it happened in 2018, December. They showed it about two, 3 times in between them 2 hours and showing rounds of that Danny Jacobs versus Cannoli fight. You know what I mean? And then they were showing highlights, man. I sat there and I was with my peoples. I was like, oh my gosh. The zone is actually now going back showing highlights of when Cannoli dispatched Carlos Baldomir when he was 19 years old. That was 2010. You know how long ago that was? They started showing highlights of him uppercutting Angulo. Then the referee stopped it. But conveniently, they didn't show no highlights of no Landy Lara fight or Floyd Mayweather fight. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They showed the knockdown when he knocked down Austin Trout, made Austin Trout do the splits, you know? But they conveniently left out the Lara and Floyd Mayweather fights all during them 2 hours. We had to sit there and wait for the zone to finally man up and start the fight. Even Cannoli was frustrated. You could tell when he was in the locker room. You know what I mean? And so was the man Kovalev. It's a bad look for boxing, and DAZN. They really just bow down to the UFC. They got bitch slapped rather than competing against the UFC and see who has more numbers. Like I said on my previous video, that's what they should have done. But more than likely, DAZN ain't even want to get into that realm because DAZN never discloses their numbers. Maybe they would have been beat out by the Nate Diaz fight as far as viewership, and maybe that's why they were reluctant to go at the same time, and that's why they basically bowed down and said, "Okay, we're gonna wait for you guys to finish, then we'll show our fight." I've never seen that type of shit in boxing, and shame on the zone and the guy Skipper and everybody who runs shit over there on the zone for even allowing that shit to happen. Period. Now listen, disclaimer. You motherfuckers out there who sweat the zone and hate PBC, you probably gonna come on my channel and give me a thumbs down and be all in your feelings because I'm telling the truth. Man, if you can't handle the truth, do yourself a favor and get the fuck out the room, you know what I mean? You ain't built for this, you know what I mean? Fellas ain't got a backbone. Fellas be on the ground like caterpillars. If you can't even take the real facts that we boxing fans had to wait for 2 hours because UFC had to finish their main event. I know you guys out there acting like you got shares in the zone and be acting like you big DAZN supporters and don't even pay for no DAZN. Y'all fellas gonna be in your feelings, man. And that's what's wrong with boxing fans these days. I ain't coming on this joint hating on no DAZN. The undercard was whack, and that's a fact. Before Canoli fought, it was Ryan Garcia versus Duno, a guy he knocked out in one round. I applauded the man Garcia for doing that because I like, that's right, man. Finish him off early so the main event could start. I ain't got to sit there for no 12 rounds to see him fight Duno. But nope, we still had to wait 2 hours. And you guys out there, you guys know that that shit ain't right. That boxing had to take a backseat to the zone. I'm sorry, to the UFC. But you guys are so infatuated with the zone. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. You can love the zone, love it all you want. But it's only because you hate PBC and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why you guys not want to be in your feelings because I'm coming out here spitting that the truth. You know what I mean? Please don't be in your feelings, and if you are, man, that's on you, man. I'm just spitting the truth. The zone bowed down and got bitch slapped, and them fellas ain't do a goddamn thing about it. You know what I'm saying? They don't even want to disclose their numbers. You know what I mean? They was being greedy, trying to wait for 2 hours to get as many subscribers as they can. Well, they really pissed off a lot of people because people left fight parties early, barbecues and whatnot early because nobody trying to sit there for no 2 hours to wait for Canoli versus Kovalev. You know what I mean? It ain't that serious. You know what I mean? Another thing I've been noticing ever since Canoli been fighting on the zone, I believe since that Rocky Feldon fight last year in December, correct? Really and truly, man, when Canoli used to fight, there used to be events, man. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of Hispanic households would have parties, Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day weekend parties. You know what I mean? I know one guy on Georgia Avenue. The man would have a projector, big ass projector, would put that motherfucker on the wall, on the outside of his house. You could be riding on Georgia Ave, and you could see whenever there's a fight, especially Canoli, uh, and be having big fight parties in his backyard. You'd be riding on Georgia Ave, and you'll see a big fight plastered on the man's basically on the outside of his house. You know what I mean? For any and everybody to watch. You know what I'm saying? I don't see that type of stuff no more. You know what I mean? Really and truly, I don't even know if any of the Mexicans who are in my area, I didn't see anybody really having no get-togethers and stuff like that. I be listening to what the man what's his name? What's the guy's name? D Style Boxing. I believe he's out there in Texas. I think he be talking about El Paso. He always talk about the border of Mexico and USA. He's Mexican American, and I always like to listen to what his thoughts are, especially when it comes to Cannoli, being that Cannoli is a Mexican, and he always talks about how it's just not the same atmosphere and as far as functions and get-togethers ever since Cannoli been fighting on the zone. You know what I mean? And that's just the truth. There's no big feel for big feel for this cannoli fights like they used to be when he was on pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not saying I'd rather pay 70, $80 rather than the DAZN, but it's just the truth. It's an app. It's just an app. You know what I'm saying? It's an app. And not everybody is down with the apps, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I wish the zone just put their foot on UFC's neck and said, "Fuck that shit. We're gonna compete," because boxing, the zone and them, they have no problem competing with PBC, who was on the same night on FS1 with Wale Abatosa versus Brian Castano. They have no problem competing with them. They have no problem competing with Top Rank, who had a fight last night with Jason Sosa and Miguel Burchout, you know what I'm saying? But now when it comes to UFC, your motherfuckers gonna take the knee, you gonna bend the knee, you know what I'm saying? Come on now. That shit ain't fair, man. And I just had to put it out there. That shit wasn't cool. You know what I mean? I was with my peoples yesterday and she took a nap. She took a nap in between them 2 hours. She said, "Wake me up when cannoli fight." I'm saying, and I can't even blame you. It's already midnight. You know what I mean? Past midnight. Officially, it was an hour and 38 between when Ryan Duno got knocked out by Ryan Garcia. You know what I'm saying? But the fight started at 1 a.m., 1:18 a.m. That was a good 2 hours because it was an 18-minute walk. You know what I'm saying? Because the fights really started by 1 a.m. That's when they started with the ring walk, and the first bell ain't ring till 1:18. So that's a good 2 hours right there. B Marsh Boxing, what the deal? E Woodson, what's happening with you? He's in the chat, says what's good. B Marsh fam, salute to you. Thanks for coming through, and everybody in the chat, thanks for hitting that thumbs up. You know what I mean? And let me know in the comments section before I sign out what you think about the zone getting bitch slapped, and us boxing fans having have to sit there and just sit there for 2 hours, especially us on the East Coast. You know what I mean? What up, Finks? Finks Art of Boxing in the chat. Salute, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comment section what y'all think about us boxing fans getting punked by UFC and the zone being the bitch that got slapped, and us being boxing fans having to take the brunt of that time waiting, time wasted, and just sit there. All right, be Marsh Boxing. I'm out of here. Peace.